Hello, James here. Hope you're doing good, well today. Well, I'm going to be playing a controversial videos, and some people may like it, some people, but if it does offend you, I'm sorry, but this is reality, and it's coming from the other side, and something that I'm learning as I go. This is primarily towards the African American community. Um, doesn't the opinions and the views, expressions comes from the creator. They come from the people who create the content. But this thing is eye awakening, educational purposes. Copyright 1976. Just for teaching purpose only. Um, and I want to give you a parable if you're black. Here's my parable. Even though you're visible among each other in front of the Most High, but until the majority make you visible, you're really invisible. Until they select you be visible. And that's with the society within the Western world, including America. You see what I'm saying. Catch that parable if you're African American, male or female. But anyway, why was that laid out for the foundation of this video? And this is going to be an interesting one. And if for other people come across this video, it might be kind of offensive, but hey, but just take it with a grain of salt. It's just eye opening. In fact, it's focused on the mental status of people that look like myself and why we think the way we do. Why we going through what we going through? Why do we always see race? Why are we always going through crime and among this certain sector of the community? Well, you got to understand from the beginning in order to see where it's come from. A lot of it has to do with could be with mental health. I do believe some of it's mental health, and it's all has a certain type of connection that goes back to the past, because it goes from the past to different generations, and it's tied in, because you can't, even though you would love to move on with the present, you have to deal. Even though some things is in the past, the trauma, it would take another 2 or 3 generations in the black community to get that past that trauma, because it's so deep and it's so rooted. It's like it's unbelievable. I mean, it's like wow. Every time when I wake up, I find out something, a different dimension in black people that I never even thought about. And my thing is to kind of wake up, not to divide, but in order to heal, to understand, you have to understand yourself. You have to understand the people, why they divide you, so you can conquer within. And so that's why I make this video, because if you can't love everybody if you can't love yourself. If you don't love it, you can't love everybody unless you love yourself, and that's true. And this video is gonna be deep. This first video is gonna be very deep. Trying to get to the video now, so just as I'm talking away, I'm laying the foundation of where I'm coming from with this video. And I hate when the page kind of repeats itself. Here it is. Let's start with this one. But there's some people that feel like this.
Why has there been racial segregation for centuries? Why does it matter to have black or white skin? Who and why were people given the sense to discriminate and hate black people? All answers lie in the fear the white people feel of black people, especially black men. And these fears trigger absolute hate, disturbing the natural human society. But what are those fears that led to hate and discrimination? Do white people confess they fear, and are those fears untold, often hidden, yet white people feel them unconsciously? Welcome to a new episode of Black Culture Diary, a channel where we talk about less known and hidden black history, culture, arts, and lost civilization. We scrutinize history here to bring the black culture back on the surface again. In this episode, we will explain how blacks have more chances of domination and the fears associated with that. Let's get started. It's the human psyche to either hate or love. People we feel attracted to are people we love. However, when someone is superior to us in position or any other form, we feel envy. This envy develops hate within us, and we feel threatened even if no direct threat is visible. But it changes everything. Next time we meet the person we feel jealous about, the hate might take over, and it can be our response to use everything at our disposal to make them feel inferior. The same is the case when it comes to racial segregation, racism, and discrimination. White people feel threatened, and this leads to hate. However, it should be noted that not every white is involved in this fear. Only the ultra-conservative white supremacists feel threatened, but we should not go into this debate as our goal is just to educate you. That's why you need to know the fears white people feel. Once you know them and understand the reasons, you can see why there is hate against black people to this day. Reason 1. Fear of extinction. The fear of potential extinction is prevalent among groups who believe their cultural, ethnic, or racial identity is at risk. In the case of white supremacists, this fear is high against black people. Consciously or subconsciously, white people have a sense of knowing about blacks being stronger, attractive, and superior, and thus they are seen as a direct threat. The fear of extinction stems from a sense that white people's population, influence, or power is dwindling. What's more, demographic changes like migration patterns, cultural shifts, or changes in birth rates may further intensify this. This fear is further intensified when they know blacks are taking their place. Due to blacks' superior genes, white people feel that their genes might take over if intermarriage is done. For example, they fear that the child will have black genes if a black man and a white woman marry since black genes are better equipped. This fear can lead to a feeling of unease, insecurity, and a desire to safeguard, leading to racism. Reason 2. Fear of being replaced. There are privileges associated with white people. In other words, people born in white families automatically get privileges because the distribution of wealth is unequal. White people have more resources because a disparity system was created centuries ago. However, today, this is changing, leading white people to feel the fear of being replaced. Earlier, laws restrained blacks from having property. Thus, no matter how much they work, their fate would never change. But today, that's not the case. Everyone's free to do whatever they want. Hence, black people are using their minds and bodies at full capacity, which whites cannot compete with. This belief can cause them to feel anxious and fearful about being replaced or left behind by blacks, especially if they perceive that the latter has advantages in areas such as economics, culture, or demographics. Reason 3. Fear of high competition. Some social orders were written centuries ago. For example, in Greek city-states, those who worked physically hard were considered inferior and slaves, but those who were philosophers were considered entitled to have all rights and privileges. Hence, physically weaker people could use the system and not worry about physically stronger people, mostly slaves. But now, it's different, leading the complexes to come out to the surface in white. Whites feel anxiety when more competent people like blacks are introduced into society. They may worry that they cannot perform at the same level as their more skilled peers, and that they will be unable to meet the expectations placed on them. This fear can be exacerbated by pressure from others, a lack of confidence in their abilities, or a fear of failure. In some cases, whites who feel incompetent may even experience imposter syndrome, in which they doubt their own competence and feel like they are faking it, or that their successes are due to luck rather than their abilities. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on black culture, history, civilization, and natural superiority. Let's continue now. Reason 4. Inferiority complex. Perhaps ultra-white conservatives and supremacists have already accepted that blacks are better equipped for survival. Their genes make them more adaptive under every environment, and that's why blacks are some of the most genius and physically stronger people on the planet. But that does not mean white supremacists accept this as a reality. Rather, they feel jealous, where the inferiority complex triggers hate. An inferiority complex is a psychological condition in which an individual feels inferior or inadequate compared to others. particularly those perceived as strong or genius. This can lead to feelings of low self-esteem, worthlessness, and self-doubt, and may result in behaviors such as avoidance, self-sabotage, or aggression towards others. That's why we have seen so many cases in which whites fight with blacks. When you try to find the reason behind these conflicts and study these cases, you won't find any reasonable cause. Rather, the hate that triggers fights is due to whites' inferiority complex. They may feel intimidated by blacks and perceive themselves as incapable of achieving the same level of success or excellence. They may believe they are inherently flawed or deficient in some way and may be preoccupied with their perceived shortcomings or weaknesses. Reason 5. Fear of losing partners. Let's be honest. Today, all around the world, open-mindedness and freedom have allowed people to do whatever they want. Homosexuality is normal, which in reality should not be made controversial. In the same way, intermarriage between blacks and whites is becoming more frequent. Not only that, but white girls prefer black men over white men simply because black men can be sexually active and stronger, and this creates fear. White men who experience sexual insecurity may feel anxious about the potential loss of their partners to sexually strong individuals within the society, and you know who is sexually stronger. This fear may originate from inadequacy or uncertainty about their sexual performance or physical attractiveness. They may be concerned that their partners will be attracted to someone perceived as more sexually appealing, and may feel threatened by the attention that these individuals receive. This fear may be intensified by societal messages that equate sexual prowess with masculinity and desirability, leading those who lack these attributes to feel inadequate or inferior. No white girl hides her relationship with a black man today, making white men fear losing their partners. Reason 6. Fear of losing white supremacy. Extreme white conservative supremacist groups commonly experience a fear of losing their grip on white supremacy. They perceive the increasing racial and ethnic diversity, progressive social movements, and changes in societal norms as a threat to their social, cultural, and political power. But you should first know what white supremacy is. According to white conservatives and supremacists, whites are naturally superior and chosen people by God. In other words, white supremacy says that whites are the only people with all rights and audacity to do whatever they want. But today, this ideology is under threat, which proves its flawed nature. You see, if white supremacy is true, then white supremacists should not fear black people as they themselves are the chosen ones. Fear erupts when they themselves don't believe in white supremacy. This fear often leads to xenophobia, racism, and a desire to maintain traditional power structures. They may worry that they will become a minority in their own country and lose the advantages they have enjoyed for generations. Political rhetoric reinforcing these beliefs and promoting an us versus them mentality can intensify this fear further. These groups may also resort to violence and intimidation to maintain their control. Do you think these fears give enough excuse to whites to discriminate? Should inferiority complex and other fears be an excuse to abuse, kill, and humiliate? Let us know your opinions on the future if these fears continue passing to whites as a legacy. Or will whites accept the natural superiority blacks have and end all conflicts? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody is talking about: the black culture, civilization, history, and the evidence proving black superiority. Thanks for watching, and until the next...
Through the driving rain, bitter wind, and wet snow, the NECA IBEW Powering America
theory was an attempt back in the late 1960s to explain what I thought is it is a crest theory of color confrontation and racism, white supremacy. And to explain what I thought is it is a crest theory of color confrontation and racism, white supremacy. An attempt to, as a psychiatrist, as a black psychiatrist, to understand, well, what exactly is this thing that we call racism, white supremacy? Looking at why do white people behave in the way that they do. You see, in concluding that it has to do, number one, with their minority status on the planet, their genetic recessive status, in that they could experience genetic annihilation in that the overwhelming majority of people on the planet are black, brown, red, and yellow. And whites constitute fewer than 1/10 of the people on the planet.
Right. So, kind of before we kind of take this in pieces and go with that. So, first of all, let's make sure we understand what racism is. Right. So, from your understanding, Pat, what is racism?
So, are we breaking down what she's saying, or are we just giving our own opinions?
Because we breaking down what she's saying, but adding our opinions in as well.
Okay. Because from what she's saying that racism, my interpretation of what she's saying, right? That's fair, right? I can say that, right?
Yeah.
All right. My interpretation of what she's saying is that because white people are so few in number, compared to the rest of the world's population, they feel a need to protect themselves when they come in contact with other groups, and to protect themselves, their resources, their culture, and their genetic viability, the continuation of their genetic line. And that manifests itself in confrontations that amount to hoarding power, hoarding resources, and establishing dominance over all other social groups. Is that fair?
That's fair. That's fair. So I would add, as far as our own opinions and what we already know, not just opinions, but information that we already know. So I would more so go with Dr. Claude Anderson's definition mixed with what Dr. Francis Cress Welsing and Nikki Fuller were talking about. So race being a competition between groups of people for land, power, resources, and wealth. And then once you grab the land, power, resources, and wealth, the white supremacy and white domination will come in to maintain that land, power, resources, and wealth. Because you're not going to obtain all this stuff just to lose it. So you're going to put some kind of mechanism in place to make sure that you can retain that power. You can remain dominant. You're not going to allow a group that you just dominated regain power and become superior to you. So yeah, they're a small portion of the groups of people or the races of people. The white population is small, let's say 10%, but through their savage behaviors and their terroristic behaviors, they've been able to dominate most of the world.
I would agree with that personally. If I'm injecting my personal opinion, and I would say, the establishment and maintenance, dominance, and influence is how I would define it. If I were to simplify it, one group being superior in status to another group or all of the other groups would be like racism in action. And here I feel like it's necessary to make the distinction between the practice of racism and the racist ideology, because those are two different things to me.
Yes. Yeah. Because I say it different. I always ask people, what's more racist to you? What a person does or what a person says? Because that's a big difference. Because I can say what I want to say, but if I have no ability to act on what I'm saying, I don't really have no power. But if I can say what I want to say and act on it and continue to create things to act on, I have power.
Right. So the practice of racism, the systems of racism are more significant and impactful than the ideology of the races. But we frequently find ourselves battling the ideology instead of focusing in on the tangible, real world effects.
Right. But also understanding that the ideology helps create the culture in the individuals, but it's the actions.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's the actions. Because if I can't reinforce none of what I'm saying, it don't matter.
Well, because we talk about apathy all the time, right? Somebody doesn't necessarily have to be racist to benefit from and support the racist system.
Right.
Like ideologically, they don't have to believe it themselves. They might think everybody's equal, but that doesn't mean that they're going to give up the benefits that they have under the system that allows them to have those benefits because of their race.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right. All right. So let's continue.
One of the things that we find that is happening now is there's this constant countdown you see on the news all the time. So when America's a majority minority nation, so there's still this countdown happening in terms of when white folks will be in the minority.
There will be a majority minority, which is nonsensical. There will be a white minority. If the non-white, if black, brown, red, and yellow people are here, they will be the majority and whites will be the minority. You see, and it's a illogical statement to talk about a majority minority. I mean, which is like white supremacy. I still have to put myself on top. I have to pose that I am genetically superior to compensate. I say it's a compensation for a genetic recessive status. Well, I think I was the first person to talk about white genetics.
So I want to say there, I love the tone of it, but I disagree with what she said.
Elaborate.
So it's not nonsensical to say that something is the majority minority. It's a very fancy, overly whatever way of saying that. Yeah, like they're saying that there will be a minority group in terms of raw numbers, but they're still going to be the largest group. So if you add everybody up in America, then the total of everybody else is going to be more than white people. But the total of each of those individual groups is still not going to be larger than the individual total of white people.
Right.
So,
right. Now,
go ahead.
I do understand that, but in my opinion, for her coming from the idea, because remember, we're giving a group of people information who was hearing this for the first time, who's understanding psychologically what has happened to us for probably the first time. So it is nonsensical in the physical raw sense of you all are not the total majority of the world. And like you said, if you add everybody together, you're not the total majority. So it's nonsensical in that sense, but I get what you're saying. It makes sense in a sense of this is who we are, this is the position that we've gained. And if you look at other groups, if you break each group down and pit white people against each other group, as of right now, white people still have the raw numbers more than anybody else. But on a world scale, and I think that's what she's talking about, on a worldwide scale.
Well, I'm not sure that that's what she's talking about, though. Might have to run it back. Can we run it back?
Let's run it back.
Will be the majority and white. There will be a majority minority.
We find that it's happening now where there's this constant countdown you see on the news all the time. So when America's a majority minority nation, so there's still this countdown happening in terms of when white folks will be in the minority.
There will be a majority minority, which is nonsensical.
Okay, so if you just talking about on American scale, but she's also talking about something futuristic. So she's saying there will be a majority minority. So she's talking about in a time where the Hispanic, especially the Hispanic group, passes the white group as far as births.
Well, and so from a propagandist standpoint, and what you said, I can feel that in terms of exposing this information to people at a time period where they weren't exposed to anything like it before. The only reason, and so if this was 20, 30 years ago, I wouldn't be saying this. But nowadays, it's kind of like, all right, it's time for us to move into reality. You know what I'm saying? So,
I'm with you. I'm for with you on moving past the talking points and moving toward action.
actual media videos, I've discussed the factors that make black people a disproportionate part of America's poor. In this video, I want to explore the theme of black excellence being conflated with black elitism, wealth, and classism. I also want to address how the black upper class has historically helped or hindered black progress and white supremacy. To start this conversation, we have to go back. The class dichotomy in the black community of the haves and the have-nots, the brokies and the bag securers, has roots in slavery. The first division were the free blacks and the slaves. Then among the slaves, there were outside slaves and house slaves, a caste system that came with privileges for the latter group. These privileges were usually in the form of better food and less physical labor, better clothing, and better access to education, as some slave owners believed smarter house slaves meant a more efficient house. Being in the house also meant more frequent interactions with whites, which often included sexual harassment and assault. But it also meant something else. The rape of black women begat light-skinned children with superiority complexes, and even resulted in inheritances of money or land, along with some free blacks who had managed to work for wages before emancipation and save up for their coins. The children of rape and the privileges they received were the initial seeds of wealth in the black community after emancipation. The emergence of what would come to be known as HBCUs, or historically black colleges and universities in the 1860s, created a stepping stone and status symbol for those few blacks who could afford to attend. Because of their money and often their proximity to whiteness, they were able to begin careers in medicine, dentistry, and law. They would start funeral homes, banks, insurance companies, and newspapers. All of these professions were highly necessary, especially because of the rigid segregation of the era. And these doctors, lawyers, and entrepreneurs would become the upper black class. They moved close to progressive cities and black universities, away from most of the poor Negroes in rural southern enclaves. These newly moneyed blacks made their homes in Chicago, Detroit, New York, Philly, Tuskegee, and later Atlanta. They attended black Episcopal or congregational churches where the vibes were formal, with well-educated clergy and small and exclusive membership lists. They donated funds to various philanthropic efforts and supported civil rights efforts through organizations like the NAACP. But for a long time, they also kept their vast wealth and minimal political power concentrated amongst themselves. They established still surviving societies and social clubs that many blacks today still haven't heard of, let alone know how to join, like Boulé, Lynx, and Jack and Jill. Boulé is an all-male society that greatly influences black politics, and most of its members are historically wealthy and well-connected. Jack and Jill is a children's society founded in 1938 by a small group of upper-class black women who wanted to create a playgroup where their kids could mingle with the right kind of people. Through this...
Let me interject right quick. You know, when it comes to the black Boulé and the black Masons, guess who was above the black Masons in the Boulé? The white Masons. The white Masons handpick and select who gets the power. So even though they go back into the mass community, they use the black Masons to do that.
Highly privileged program, children are introduced to educational, social, and cultural experiences the average black child from the hood could only dream of. They get early exposure to professional careers and are provided a network of friends and opportunities that help them get extra help to the top. These kids and teens nurtured lifelong bonds, and throughout the 20th century, it was common for them to find their marriage partners at monthly Jack and Jill meetings, limiting the possibility of interclass dating, or more bluntly, dating down. Because Jack and Jill has historically extended memberships by invitation only, with no application fees, and you get in by knowing someone who already belongs, those with wealth, professional circles, and private school credentials make up the bulk of the membership. But to be clear, it was reported that membership grew in the 70s and 80s as more black Americans moved into the suburbs than ever before. And the organization changed its mission to, quote, reflect the isolation felt by many blacks living in predominantly white suburbs. Instead of helping blacks assimilate into white culture, the organization is seeking to instill a sense of ethnic pride in suburban black children. But this still left out a large chunk of black children who would have benefited. This kind of class-based privilege was probably what W.E.B. Du Bois had in mind when he first began promoting the talented 10th. But before addressing him, let's run it back to Booker T. Washington, who adamantly promoted industrial education and the concept of the black community, focusing on economic progress and betterment rather than acquiring political and civil rights. The only way to do this was, of course, by sacrificing black lives to white supremacy, as Washington lived during the nadir of American race relations, when anti-black violence was especially harsh and frequent. While most inaugural members of the black upper class began purchasing nice clothes, cars, and homes to fit in with a white America rapidly becoming obsessed with consumerism, mass lynchings, voter suppression, and discrimination raged across the country for the average black person. But that's not to say the black upper class didn't face their own discrimination, nor were they not doing anything for progress. In addition to charitable donations, in their view, by showcasing the elite black community and demonstrating their wealth and pedigree, they weren't only proving their humanity to white people, but lifting up the lower black classes as shining examples for how to attain wealth and behave. The whole thing reeked of classist respectability politics, insinuating that poor blacks were stuck in their positions because of behavior, not systemic race and class issues. This ideology, known as the Talented Tenth, was crafted by white liberal philanthropists who wanted to train a class of black elites to support white liberal interests and teach other blacks. W.E.B. Du Bois publicized the term the Talented Tenth as a leadership class of 1 in 10 black men who could best serve the community by getting classical educations and attaining wealth. Black children of the upper class, as described by Lawrence Otis Graham in his book Our Kind of People, and Margot Jefferson in her book Negroland, were encouraged to think of themselves as elite members of their race, who were to serve as examples for the rest of the community. At black college campuses like Howard, students were subjected to the elitist status quo. Howard was founded in 1867, but didn't see its first black president until 1926, and he was extremely light-skinned. Colorism thrived in all corners of the black upper class, with members encouraged to lighten skin, press unruly hair, and even obtain facial surgery in the later half of the 20th century when operations were more accessible. At Howard in 1928, a frustrated student wrote about the colorism in the school's Greek community, saying, "We are not so surprised when we hear such rumors and reports about institutions of learning owned, controlled, and attended by white people, but it certainly comes as a great shock and causes a feeling of shame when we hear such news about Negro colleges. At first glance, it would seem incredible that Negroes, themselves the victims of ignorant prejudice and discrimination because of color, should follow the lead of the Nordics." Howard itself was apolitical for the first half of its existence, as it wanted to be seen as a black Harvard or Yale. Initially, students were concerned with being respectable members of the upper class, but by the late 60s, more students had become aligned with the civil rights and black power movements. Elitism and classism could still be found lurking in the fraternities and sororities, however, as belonging to these exclusive organizations meant not only being able to afford college, but membership dues as well. Hopefully you've noticed that a recurring theme in the creation and sustaining of the black upper class is access to resources, most predominantly education. While many members of the black upper class, who make up most black Republicans, will champion personal responsibility and bootstrap narratives as the keys to lifting unfortunate Negroes out of poverty, this clashes directly with their history. It started with black people who were freed from bondage early and allowed to work while others toiled away in slavery. It continued with those blacks who were gifted money, land, or education, while the rest were locked in subservience or living under the worst conditions of Jim Crow. Since the beginning of the 20th century, these upper-class blacks were not always self-reliant, as they had networks of wealthy family members and friends, access to the right clubs and opportunities, and money and time for enrollment at good grade schools and colleges. They had resources, they had each other, and more than that, they had a lower class of blacks who contributed to their wealth. Madam C.J. Walker, the first quote-unquote self-made black millionaire, sold her hair products to black people. When she was building her 20,000 square foot house in Irvington, New York in 1917, a white woman remarked to New York Times, "Impossible. No woman of her race could afford such a place." The various black men who amassed fortune by selling life insurance policies did so through the wallets of black clients. I could list out every entrepreneur and how they made their money similarly through black customers, but instead I'll drive home the point. Just like today, there was no room for every everybody to be black beauty suppliers or black insurers or black newspaper owners. This is why I really hate it when certain people act like everyone in the black community is one eyelash or t-shirt company away from being a millionaire. For capitalism to remain super lucrative for the few, they must concentrate ownership and resources among themselves. Otherwise, they'd have nobody to sell to, nobody to serve, nobody to profit from. So ultimately, there's always a group of impoverished people being bombarded with both consumerist fantasies of status symbols like fancy cars and clothes, and accusations of laziness, lack of determination, and government mooching. Speaking of alleged government mooching, since at least the late 70s, many members of the black upper class have advocated politically against welfare and government aid in a few ways, and there are definitely reasons to be concerned about the black elite's impact on the rest of us. Nowadays, the black elite includes more than just old-moneyed families and professionals. It includes celebs, athletes, and politicians, three occupations that black people have only seen wide success in the past few decades. These are some of the same people who don't feel the full burden of racial oppression because they're not only wealthy but also have greater access to resources and people with power.
Exactly.
The classist attitudes they have about poor blacks carries over into their politics, their devastatingly influential public personas, and their personal actions. Of course, you've got the obvious black Republicans who buy into myths about welfare queens and lazy hoodlums squandering opportunities for fun vacations to prison, but then they're aided by centrist voices like the now disgraced Bill Cosby, who in between rapes spent years pouring money into HBCUs and scholarships, but at the same time was berating poor blacks for wearing baggy pants or being ghetto as if those were the reasons for their circumstances, even going so far as to suggest that racism was used as a crutch for poverty. It was classist and elitist blacks like Cosby who endorsed ordinances that would ban baggy pants in the 2000s and who went along with racist dog whistles about thugs when Trayvon Martin, Mike Brown, and others lost their lives in the years to come. Classist respectability politics do more than just concentrate wealth and power or lead to black people being shot in the streets by cops who never face punishments. Respectability politics approves state-sanctioned violence against black people in prison. As adherents love to point out, if you don't want to go to prison, don't commit a crime. Like this country doesn't systematically ensnare people of color into the mass industrial complex through poverty and neglect. Congressman Charles Rangel, a Democrat, was a supporter in Nixon's White House of revving up the war on drugs. He founded the nonpartisan but still mostly Democrat Congressional Black Caucus, which voted to defund rehabilitation centers, fund more prisons, and agreed with harsh legislation for drug offenders. This wasn't the first or last time a Democratic black member of the upper class would ignore class and race realities to make judgment calls on the poor black community. In 2008, Obama made a speech about absentee black fathers and its connection to black progress, a typical talking point from people looking down on ghetto blacks that neglects mass incarceration and the less than stellar track record of white parents. And then, along with all of the black politicians reeking of classism, you've got it permeating hip-hop and black culture. If you listen to the music, watch the interviews, and check out the type of viral content that gets black Twitter riled up, you see it's all loaded with insults about broke niggas, flexing on others, and giving up certain vacation spots or designer labels when too many Negroes start acquiring it. To be clear, the classism that exists in hip-hop and black culture doesn't exist in a vacuum. America is classist at its very roots. Something we're reminded when we think about this country's ultra-defining constitution being penned by wealthy male landowners and slave owners, the only people allowed to do something so important. We're a society obsessed with acquisition, acquiring power, acquiring real estate, acquiring wealth. And boy, is that third one crucial for the other two. Don't believe me? It takes damn near $10 million to run for Congress and nearly $1 billion to run for president. In the midst of all of this acquiring, there is a sacrificial class of blacks left to bear the consequences. Like those scores of black people murdered during the nadir of American race relations while Booker T. Washington advocated for the continuance of white social and political dominance, black victims of classism are real casualties. While blacks will continue climbing their way to the top, stepping on the backs of others and claiming to be self-reliant like the wealthy white descendants of slave owners, they might want to remember that arriving doesn't guarantee security. They're still just Negroes in a white supremacist world. What?
Bingo. Here's a message.
in the system, total system dynamic, and the power structure, the total system dynamic of racism, white supremacy, that is where black beauty is denied. So it's like you just have an individual person, or you have many persons, many individuals responding to what is considered to be beautiful within the system. And so what is, if you see the cover of a magazine, the 100 most beautiful women on the planet, then they're white. Or the 100 most handsome men on the planet, they're white. This is within the structure and dynamic of the system of racism, white supremacy. And so as long as people of color do not understand that dynamic, then they fall victim to wishing they were white.
Boom.
And acting on that basis. So again, this is why it is very important. I say the most important thing we can do as black people is to begin to have comprehensive, in-depth understanding of the system of racism, white supremacy, because the system causes black self-hatred and black self-destruction and group destruction.
With same game parlays on FanDuel, you can bet how your favorite players will do. Looking good, young Chuck.
You too, old Chuck. Getting better with age.
Now you understand the mind warfare? It doesn't matter. Now you understand? But James, that was the past. And I want to get back to one celebrity that this one talk about.
So once again, Ice Cube is back in the news. Now, if we go back in time, back to the election between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, Ice Cube had came out with a contract for Black America. And Ice Cube was sharing this contract of Black America. He had talked to people like Dr. Claude Anderson and many other great minds in the black community about what we need. Ice Cube took away from his movies and his status to get involved to try to help black people. Ice Cube did not have to do that whatsoever. Ice Cube was doing his movies and everything else that he was doing. But Ice Cube felt that, you know what? Yes, I'm doing great. Yes, I got millions of dollars. Yes, I got notoriety, but I need to try to help my people, because just because I'm doing good doesn't mean I don't want to see my people do good. So Ice Cube made the sacrifice to get out there and start talking about a contract with Black America. Now, the mistake that all of the Democrat shields felt that he made was he had the idea of talking to Democrats and talking to Republicans. His idea that he wanted to talk to Trump and he wanted to talk to Biden. He wanted to talk to both of them. And the only one that even gave an ear to anything was Donald Trump. It wasn't even Biden. Biden didn't even have a meeting with him whatsoever. Biden told him, yeah, look, if I win, I'll talk to you. He said the same thing to Black Lives Matter, which was Black Lives Matter went to bankruptcy, but that's a podcast of a different day. He didn't want to talk to Black Lives Matter, which was already a grift, all filled up with white progressive liberals. That's who was organizing and running that, but using a black woman's face as the front. So,
Fact.
Ice Cube was attacked by many people for having a contract with Black America. He went over there with Boule Martin. Boule Martin attacked him. He went over there with Vivica and them with Cocktails with Queens. And then they started asking, well, do you have something specific for black women? He said, it's a contract with Black America. That includes men and women. No. We need a section just for black women. See, when I would have heard that, I wouldn't even want to talk to him. I said, so you don't care about black people, you only care about a gender? I said, that's the problem. I say, them kind of black folks, we don't need to be even dealing with at this point. Because you dealing with your so-called gender, how is that working out for you? work better as a people together. So right now, Ice Cube came out on a podcast, and people are upset once again with Ice Cube. Why? Because Ice Cube had made a comment about the Democrat Party in relation to Black America. Let's go ahead and roll that.
Like, black people have supported Democrats, overwhelmingly for 50, 60 years. And nothing has changed. So something's got to change.
You heard Ice Cube say that black people have been supporting Democrats and nothing has changed. Now, black people have started overwhelmingly voting Democrat in 1964. That's the time when they started to really vote Democrat. And we know because of the Civil Rights Act, it just exploded with black people voting Democrat. And ever since then, the black community have been voting overwhelmingly 85 to up to 95, sometimes 97% Democrat. The Democrat Party never have to worry about black people. Black people is the only group that show up in a block to vote. Every other group, they is kind of split down the middle. They vote Democrat, they vote Republican. But we have this symbiotic relationship with the Democrat Party. We have people out here that even say that we built the Democrat Party. And I'm like, where's your evidence that black America built the Democrat Party? We have voted for them religiously, I'll give you that, but we didn't build the Democrat Party, and we don't control the Democrat Party whatsoever. There's people out there that have said we can't just abandon the party, we need to hold a foot to the fire, we need to do this, we need to do that. Because they feel this, like I said, this loyalty to the Democrats. You have other people talking about vote down ballot, but vote Democrat. Always Democrat. Not saying, you know what? Let's vote on a policy for black people. Hey, if that Republican got a policy, we'll go with them. If the Democrat got a policy for black people, we'll go with them. If nobody got a policy for black people, we sit it out. That's how you're really supposed to vote.
Right.
You don't vote on no party, you vote on policy, and we're going to give us tangibles. See, if the black community was on that, our vote would be actually powerful.
Right.
Then I really would be behind, hey, yeah, let's go ahead and galvanize and get out there and vote for this and vote for that. Because now we really using power at that point. What kind of power you have voting for one party?
Right.
And then that's the thing. I know a lot of black Americans right now is very upset with Biden, but are you upset enough to make a difference? So, after Ice Cube had made this statement, the Democrat shields on clockwork, doing their job, saying the exact same things they always say. But they'll go ahead and put this tweet up. So as you can see here, this John Varner guy, Ice Cube only shows up every 4 years to tell black people to vote for Republicans who are openly suppressing the black vote, whitewashing / banning black history, and killing diversity, equity, inclusion programs that support black folks. He says hard pass. I'll get to Ice Cube here in a minute. Diversity, equity, and inclusion programs is not for black people.
No.
We got hip to the word minority. We know minority doesn't mean black.
No.
So what they did, those especially on the Democrat side,
Right.
well, let's not say minorities. Let's say diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Right.
But diversity, equity, and inclusion is just another way of saying minority.
Right.
Now, in diversity, equity, and inclusion is white women.
Right.
In diversity, equity, and inclusion is white LGBT.
Yes.
What's in diversity, equity, and inclusion is white disabled.
Yes.
Now, let's get to Asians.
Yes.
Let's get to Indians.
Yes.
Arabs.
Yes.
Hispanics, Native Americans.
Yes.
And then black.
Yes.
That's usually how it goes.
Yes.
So you got all these different groups in diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Exactly.
And let me tell you something. The one who's going to benefit the most off of diversity, equity, and inclusion is the white people. They're going to benefit the most out of those programs.
Yes.
And then after them, it's going to be every other group except black folk.
Exactly.
So now we back to the same old of the minority game.
Exactly.
Where black folks get nothing. The only thing that benefits black folks is a specific program that says black Americans.
I'm going to stop right here.
If it don't say that, it's not benefiting us solely. I'd rather somebody say we're going to hire 20 black people,
Right.
and that's what we're going to do. I'd rather go with that than diversity, equity, inclusion.
Right.
And also in diversity, equity, inclusion, don't forget undocumented aliens.
Right.
Don't forget about them either.
Right.
They're in the mix.
Right.
So there you go. The Democrat Party hasn't done nothing for black people.
No.
Nothing.
Nope.
Democrats, Chicago, want to take away from the black community and give it to people that just came across the border.
Right.
Talking about they seeking asylum.
Right.
And they jump black Americans who've been in this country for hundreds of years,
Right.
been paying taxes in this country for hundreds of years, and now Chicago want to take $51 million of taxpayer money and use it for them, but won't use it for black folk in Chicago that's homeless at the rate of 76%. The majority of the homeless in Chicago are black Americans.
Mhm.
This is what your Democrat Party is doing
Mm-hmm.
to black folk.
Yep.
This is what they're doing.
And guess what? How they do that? Hand puppet strategy. They use the black boule. So the black boule, and then you got some of our people that see a black person, they say, "Oh, they down with," and they use the same tactic. That's how Biden got in the office. They used the black. They got these black upper class, like I showed in the other video, and that's what they do. And they represent, and them the ones that voted that stuff. Them the ones that's on your council. Them the ones that allow this stuff to happen while majority of the people, and then when the majority of people confront, say, what about our reparations? They like the Clyburn to say, you ain't getting no reparation. So them the ones, since it was set up by white liberals that do that. So your Clyburn and different individuals who represent, and they go get the slavery. Come on now. Come on, Sister Johnson. Let's go down to the voting booth when it comes out November, and they'll have buses low from, and they'll pay the buses, the bus in the people from going out in the inner cities to come vote and push the Democratic narrative. That's what they doing. So when it goes back, this is what how we in the state we are in. And this is collectively, but basically, black people is at the worst end of the stick. Now you have to compete in your own city, in your own state, because of them. So they are to blame, and he let them use them. Of course, he's going to select a black person. That's what they do. Of course, he got a black general. He got a black representative. It don't mean nothing. It's a selective. It don't mean. They the hand puppets behind it. They the hand puppets. If they're a Mason, they'll get a black Mason before they'll get a black individual. That's the truth. Because they don't want to be. They stand back and say that we're not racist. We select a black person. Strategy war 101. That's what they do. That's how they use us. And that's how they suppress the vote and suppress majority of us is in the conditioning. They the ones see us. And it's like that girl said, it's okay with there's a certain elite of black class if to keep the lower black class in a subjugated condition. But they're so when you say you're doing it by skin, they know what they do. They control it. They control it through the media. So when they do that, they flip it. That's what they do. They use black people, they black boule as the gate masters, as the taskmasters, to keep the majority of the black people. Say, come on now. And they'll say some represent. You black folks need to get out there and vote. You do this and you do that. Meanwhile, you're suffering. Your neighborhoods are suffering. You're living in condition. Don't fall for the color scheme. Then they used the paper, and when I showed about the paper bag, they did that. They still do that to this day. Trust me. They still do the same tactic. That's why can't we because they use the old. Why can't black people get over the past? Because they use the past tactics to do that to us. They use the light, the dark. Don't they do it in the present? Don't you see? They use the same tactic. they'll select the ones that they do. Let's get back to it.
This is what they're doing. So when Ice Cube said that nothing has changed, oh yes, actually a lot has changed, Ice Cube. It's worse for Black America now than what it was in 1964. In 1964, most of us can remember our grandparents, etc., all owned their homes. Today, black folk can't afford to buy a home.
Nope.
Look at the inflation.
Right.
Look at you can't get an apartment no more because they talking about 3 times the rent, 700, 800 credit score. Black Americans are doing worse today.
Right. Thank you.
Underneath this Democrat president that you got.
Exactly.
This Democrat president Biden.
Exactly.
Saying that you voted for him and he got your back and he ain't had nothing but turning his back to you and giving his behind the kiss.
Right.
That's been it with Biden ever since he been in office.
Right.
Kamala, I don't know what she doing. I don't know what she doing. To me, now, if you want to talk about a true diversity hire, that's Kamala. Because she don't do nothing.
No.
At all.
No.
But how is the Democrat Party benefiting black people?
Right.
Did our incarceration rate drop dramatically under Democrats? Actually, the Democrats you got in office authored the 1994 crime bill.
Boom.
He called it Biden's Law.
Boom.
And shot mass incarceration up.
Boom.
Why don't we have a Biden's Law in 2023 for all them fentanyl and crystal meth users? We're not going to have that because that's going to touch them folks.
Right.
So we're not going to have no Biden's Law. See, where's even the Republicans? We're talking about tough on crime. Right. You'll never hear them talking about tough on crime when it comes about that crystal meth and fentanyl use. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, it's a health issue now. Exactly. It's not lock them up, criminals, and throw the key away. It was none of that for them folks. Right. But for us, we had Biden's Law.
Exactly.
Democrat.
Exactly.
Supposed to be our friends.
Exactly.
Right? Look at how Democrats respond to reparations. Gavin Newsom say, okay, I'm going to dangle a carrot. I'm going to create a reparations commission. And then when they actually come back and say, okay, we recommend this much in cash payments to black Americans, I don't know. Well, reparations is more than just cash payments now. We're already doing some of the things they recommend anyway. Reparations has shown that the Democrats is no different than the Republican on the paying black Americans reparations. As I said before, reparations is the litmus test to find out if they're really for you or not. Right. And a lot of the Democrats do not want black people to get reparations because they know it's going to level the playing field. Right. Now let's go back to this tweet here. So Ice Cube says, I never told you what you see here who to vote for. So stop lying and get that clickbait out of your mouth. Now at the bottom, John says, telling black folks to ditch the Democrat Party is telling people who to vote for. We currently have a two-party system. It's no problem holding Democrats accountable, but you got no smoke for Trump, MAGA, and the Republican Party. Wonder why.
What? Look, let me interject right here. But do you know, did they go to the Asian, East Indian community, talk about all inclusion? Did they go to the LGBT community and all inclusion? Why they do that to black people? Why? Ask yourself that. Why did they do that? Did they go to the Native American community? No. See, each representative saying, this is what we want in our community. This is what we want. We want better education. We want access. We need funding grant for homes in which the Middle Eastern, the Asians, and the East Indians, and all these other people want. They thrive into business, thrive in distribution, thrive and make that. That's why they rise in politics, and they hold their people accountable. Meanwhile, they play with your ignorance. They come to you, because I know you guys, like she said, like the little ball, because we want to make you little athletes and little musician. We'll give you a part. We'll give you representation. we'll give you something like this. No, this is what we need in this community. We'll from your church so you can get you some steak dinners. That's all what they do. And they come down and they kiss your babies and stuff like that. They'll send some black representative. That's what they do. It's the same hand puppet. But when they go out in them communities, they don't play them like that. They don't play the Asian community. Tell them straight up, this is what we want, and they get what and they demand, and they put the pressure on their people. They know. They talk to, and they come together. No matter if it's the East Indian community, no matter if it's the Korean and Chinese and Vietnamese community. That's what they do. They collab. This is what they do. That's why in your neighborhoods. That's how and check this out. Even, and there's some people that do, but they had to get a hand up to get their business started. They didn't come over here with something. Well, who helped them get that secured that loan to get that building? They didn't have a certain credit system. They got a credit system for you. They did that. How is it they're able to purchase it? And it's not like most of them are extremely wealthy. Why? They collab with each other, and they put their resource together. Who know who to get them into that and get a business going in your neighborhood. Therefore, they go and they go down to City Hall and things like that, and they purchase land and deal with the taxes. That's how they do it. Do they make any? They make special clauses in them for tax purposes, and they give them get in game on how to get around tax laws, the local and state laws. That's what they do. That's why they in your community. We don't know how to play the game. Meanwhile, that's why if you in the inner city, you black. That's why they down there, and what they do is that, hey, and I can't get mad at them. You can't get mad at them. They collaborate with each other. Let me tell you how the way one of immigrant families go. They come over here, they get tax law. They might buy a store, a hotel, a gas station, or whatever, and they got a cousin in New York, whatever. They work out some kind of deal in Michigan, work out some kind of deal in exchange. They got a community thing. So they come down here, they collab. They got people already here, and they get one of their own, and they send their kids to school. So you have funded them, and rightfully so, like any American family. They go back and they help their people, and they stay within their culture. It don't matter how far they get out, they come back and they help their people, and so when they get to second and third generation, like what's that guy's running for president? The East Indian dude. That's what they do. They come over, they get father, get an education in the university, get American education, get a degree, get over here, get citizenship, whatever, and then they go, get the practice going. Their brother come over from somewhere, they get some kind of business going on. They work out some kind of deal with one of their cousins, friends, whatever, and they bring their culture, and they bring their culture. That's why when you go out to the different areas, you see them in the gas station, the motels, and things like that. That's just one of the communities. That including the other, and everybody follow this pattern. But they hold the representatives accountable what they do. This is what they do from their professionals. Their kids are professionals. Their doctors, their IT, their lawyers, but when all put all that aside, they come as the community. That's what they do. And they don't bullshit with them. They get specific to the point what they want, and the specific with their point, they sitting on wealth, and then the third or fourth, everybody's coming off of the back of poor black people. When they got the stores in there, when they own your beauty supplies, whatever production that they got, they making a buck off of you. They are. Oh yeah, and you know what this latest thing? I'm gonna show you what's going on with the immigrants. I'm gonna show you this. This video is gonna be a little bit long. I'm gonna show you what's going on with the immigrants. You're gonna trip out. This Latino dude record this. Since Biden and Kamala And all the people like, oh my God, when they did away with the border, remember that shit with the border? This is what they do. This is what they do. You're gonna see what they did to this hotel, man. You're gonna trip out, man. And it's I find this video, man. You're gonna really trip out. And this dude, it's a Hispanic dude that got this. And this is what they doing. This is what they led into the country. This is what this is a certain party. And it's the same party that did this stuff. And the reason why this is coming to your city. This is the reason why. What is the big deal? And these people, if you would have saw when they respond, they didn't even respect the law and enforcement in their own in the neighboring country. I was looking at this one video. It was on Spanish TV. These folks are throwing shit at the police. They being rebellious because they said hold back. You right now you can't cross. They just come in and they boldly. Some of these people are bold. They don't even respect the law. You know what I'm saying? And they understand. They was telling me in Spanish, hey, and they just they just gonna boldly push their way back. And it's like they didn't have no sense of regard. And it's like, wow, they let these people they have, some people don't have no more, it's crazy, man. And I ain't no anti-immigrant either, but when I seen this shit, it's like, God, dog, these people are crazy. They just come in and demand and come entitled. And then they didn't even want to listen to the border patrol. The border was telling what way it was. They told them this shit. Say, hey, you need to put in the law. And they dragged their foot around. Now these cities are getting overrun with this stuff. And he wants to give them money and stuff like that. But you think that's wasted money. So he done wasted money overseas with that silly war. Now he's wasting taxpayers' money over here. Then he talk to black people like they're a piece of shit when they ask them for some legitimate things. Then they get their black representative talk to you like a piece of shit. It's crazy, man. And like you said, you keep voting for these son of bitches. What for? When they don't respect you. And and black people only and unfortunately we just see one side of the news, because even the news they teach you what they want you to learn. And one thing, if anything Donald Trump makes sense, regardless of what you think about him, they paint the narrative. They paint a certain type of narrative, and you fall for it, and we fall for it as a collective. I mean, even family, you try to tell your family, they don't want to listen. They don't want to listen. But when I show you this video, it's going to shock you. I find this video, what these people are doing, it's unbelievable, man. What they did at this hotel in New York, after these people that clown, man. These people are trying to help these people out. These people show their gratitude by tearing the shit up. Wait till I show you this video, man. I'll find this video. I'm gonna show you this, man. You're gonna trip out. And this is what when you put them in the hotel, they had to probably close the hotel down. They jacked up that hotel. But thanks to this administration, that's what they did. They didn't listen to that dude. They say, hey, no. Leave that thing in the place where Trump had it. It was running much smoothly. Because I saw what they was doing down there, man. They wasn't even respecting the law enforcement that's coming to their neighboring country. They were throwing bricks and rocks at the military and the police down there. Like, these folks are crazy. And they don't have no respect and regard for law. And then when they got in, and they were saying there was interpretation span, there were people laying on the street getting high and shit. He said they weren't doing, they was just being blasé about it. And it was some dude that he had firsthand. But sorry, this video gonna be kind of long, but you're gonna find out what they're talking about. I'm gonna show you the truth, because this, you're just getting one-sided, but they're not telling you the whole truth. What's really going on? Man, where that video at? I mean, they was tearing stuff up, and it's like, dang, these people, America trying to help you, and try to do what they can. It's just that they were just, it was so bad that even some of the people in Mexico was even, the residents where they were getting on their nerves. I'm like, God, dog. Oh man. Sorry taking this so long. This video is gonna be longer than usual, because you guys see this stuff, man. You're not gonna believe what you're gonna see. They telling you one thing, but they're not telling you the whole truth. But yeah, it's a lot of this has to do with the party that's in the office. This is on their watch. They willing to let this, and it really is. It goes right back on them. I mean, the deficit the way they are, the reason why we in the state that we in, we suffering, the working class, the working poor. Yeah, they behind all this stuff, and they don't give a damn. And who has to suffer? The people who, majority of us ain't got a doggone choice. But I think I'm gonna end this video. But I'm thinking make another video, because this is, I can't find that video. But yeah, it's ridiculous. See, they telling you one thing, but they're not telling you the other side. Oh, here it is. Watch what they did to this hotel.
Something that makes me happy
With this man
is my dog, Mr. Rhodes.
Channel.
We call each other Hollow Notes, and we did.
Guys, hit the like button, man. What y'all doing? Hit the like button.
This what you gonna get in your city.
In a state of emergency, as over 60,000 illegal immigrants have made their way into the area. Mayor Eric Adams has recently declared that 50% of the hotels in the city are now filled with migrants, and for the first time, we're getting an exclusive look at what the inside of one of these hotels looks like. We sat down with whistleblower Carlos Arellano, who worked inside the Row NYC for the past 7 months. This hotel, located 1 block from Times Square, previously rented rooms for $500 a night. Carlos shares it is now the largest migrant hotel in New York City.
So in the hotel, we have close to 5,000 migrants. It hovers between 4,800 to 5,000. It's the biggest hotel out there that's housing migrants.
I think it's a 4 or a 5-star hotel. This is a 4 or a 5-star hotel, guys, that these migrants are staying at in New York City. The Row is very expensive. They have, it doesn't make any sense to me. These people are being treated. This is a big-time hotel in New York City. This is crazy.
They house 5,000 people
show you this
together in 28 floors.
You have the NYC badge, so you are a city employee, correct?
Yes, I was a site administrator at the Row Hotel. Anything involving this hotel, I was helping run it.
One of the first stops migrants make when they are bussed in is the Port Authority bus station. It's at this station that they are first dropped off, assigned a hotel, and sent to locations such as the Row NYC. So when a migrant comes to the hotel, what does the process look like?
They're taken to our intake center, which is, they just register their names, how many kids, and they give them rooms. With our medical team is where they determine if they need certain vaccinations, which are usually turned down by the migrants. They don't want them. But a lot of the times they will have some kind of sickness to them, and that's when they're Ubered out to hospitals that work with the migrant hotels. Everything ranging from doctor's visits to medication is paid for the migrants.
I believe we have a document where car seats can also be provided for the migrants as well, correct?
Yes, car seats, cribs for newborns. There's, I want to say, at least 2 to 3 babies a week being born at this hotel.
What? 2 to 3 babies being born? Man, this is crazy. This is some crazy stuff. The reason why I say it's crazy is because these are literally illegal immigrants. And I get it, they're looking for a better life. I'm not opposed to the idea of people crossing to live a better life, but I'm opposed to the idea of how it's happening in America and how we have so many other issues that need to be taken care of before we take care of anybody else.
Right.
And is this all on taxpayer dollars?
On top of free medical care and transportation, Carlos also shares that the migrants receive laundry services, housekeeping, and 3 meals a day alongside their hotel rooms.
Anything you can possibly think of is being given to them. Around 200 through 300 Metro cards a day are given for free. ID services, ID NYC, they have IDs from the city of New York.
And what can they do with those IDs?
Well, a lot of people in this hotel are working with that ID. Aside from that, they're receiving, I've seen food stamps, cards arrive, a lot of services that are provided to them just for having this ID.
And then my other question for you too is, how much does it cost per day to feed these migrants?
So in our hotel, it's $383 for 5,000 people. And
bro, look at that. New York City officials says city is spending an estimated $5 million a day on housing, feeding migrants. $5 million a day. That's OD.
That's just for 1 day worth of meals.
Listen, man, I hate to admit it, but before moving to this nice place,
coming your way.
Thanks to you guys, I had roaches and mouses. Not because we were dirty, but because of where we lived wasn't taken care of. There's a lot of places in the Bronx. There's a lot of places in New York City. If you look at New York City overall, it's rat infested. There's so much going on in New York City. There has to be, look, New York City needs to be taken care of. The world, America needs to be taken care of before America just takes this on. I'm not opposed. I don't hate these people. I don't know these people. In fact, I love these people, but I think that the way things are being set up is just completely wrong. This is not the right way to go about it, in my opinion. There's so much wrong. There's so much homelessness already happening in New York. There's so many problems in New York with crime and all these different things. Bro, what in the world is happening that we have to spend $5 million a day? Like, what?
In January of this year, it was reported that Mayor Eric Adams signed a $275 million contract that would fund the migrants staying in hotels across the city for the next 6 months, a budget of around $55,000 per migrant. However, the city is running out of hotel rooms, with Adams stating that some hotels don't want to shelter migrants. Carlos provided us with an inside look at the Row NYC that may give us some insight as to why.
The migrants being in those hotels have destroyed them. There's a lot of alcohol in these rooms.
They did this in Mexico.
Is there all week.
They did this in Mexico.
They'll clean it, and by the end of the night, there's kids getting drunk together. There's people hooking up with each other. I even have seen reports of certain managers.
You know you should be planning for the future. But savings accounts,
Atlanta, Chicago, is coming your way.
Can be scary.
I even have
Denver,
seen reports of certain managers who are using this to get intimate with people. It seems like the
Are you kidding me, bro? This is crazy. No way. Look at this. This is wild. This is how they're treating America? Chill. Nah, this is bad work.
Have seen reports
You should
of
see what they did in Mexico.
managers who are using this to get intimate with people. It seems like the hotel is one big party. There's multiple guns in these rooms as well. The alarming thing is that this hotel is meant to be a family hotel. One situation that I'll never forget was I was on my lunch break and I was at Walgreens, and while I was in line, I saw one of the migrants sticking alcohol into their children's backpack. And they stick them in the children's backpack because they know we wouldn't dare to check a child's backpack.
Yo, this is crazy story. Yo, this is some crazy stories, bro.
Do this kind of stuff all the time. Whether it be drugs, whether it be alcohol, whether it be a gun. They stick it in the strollers, under the baby.
During just our short time investigating the location outside of the hotel, we ourselves witnessed a migrant so drunk he could barely stand. But alcohol isn't the only issue at the Row NYC. Carlos shared incident reports and internal text messages.
I literally have a friend. I gotta hit this guy up. I had a friend who was a bartender there at the Row Hotel. We used to go to the Row Hotel a lot. Me and my guy Tone, we used to go to the Row Hotel. We used to have a good time there. So now that whole hotel is full of this. Look at this. Wow.
We ourselves witnessed a migrant so drunk he could barely stand. But alcohol isn't the only issue at the Row NYC. Carlos shared incident reports and internal text messages detailing gunmen on the premises, children getting drunk, and migrants stealing from local businesses surrounding the hotel.
You
were actually showing me some text messages between a social worker about a drunk 10-year-old in this hotel. Can you talk to us about what happened there?
Yeah, it was a drunk 10-year-old who was caught with a 14 and a 12-year-old, and all three of them were intoxicated. And when we looked them up in the system, the parents had checked out 2 days ago.
So the parents just left them there?
Yeah, the parents will leave the kids unattended in the hotel, and they think it's okay to leave for a day or two, sometimes even a week.
And you actually did provide us with a couple of incident reports. Let's go ahead and go over some of them, specifically the incident report where you have gunmen walking around the hotel. Talk to me about that situation.
We heard a security guard start yelling, there's a gun on site, there's a gun on site. It was probably an upset person that we had kicked out of the hotel, and it sent the whole hotel into a panic. And this is an everyday thing. I myself have been assaulted. I've seen other people get assaulted. I've had threats saying, we'll be waiting for you guys outside. There's been times where staff has had to be escorted to their cars, to their trains.
Because the migrants are threatening them.
Yeah.
And why is that happening?
Because they want to get away with doing whatever the hell they want to do inside the hotels. There's one incident. It was my very first week working in this hotel, and it was a husband who was beating up his wife. It was my job and others' jobs to separate them. The brother of the husband shows up and starts telling the wife, why would you report him? Now they're going to kick him out of the hotel and deport him out of the country, which didn't happen. And then the brother rushes in and hits the wife on the face as well.
Yo, nah. That is absolutely... See, I knew things were going on in the city, obviously, because there's so much going on in the Bronx already that I can't lie to you guys. I just stopped caring about a lot of stuff. But looking into this and realizing that this is what's happening right now with these people who are getting a great opportunity, right, overall, coming in here illegally and being allowed in a 5-star hotel, yet they treat it like they're not even grateful. Like, yo, you're supposed to do this. You guys are supposed to let us in. It's like, yo, hold on, bro. Like, what? And then you got people hitting their wives, their brothers. But look at that. This sounds crazy.
And as the hotel staff, what were you guys able to do with these two?
The solution always is, they're intoxicated. send them to the hospital to sober up, and then they come right back into the hotel. It's either the hospital, or it's either send them to Port Authority and let the husband who's intoxicated get another hotel paid by the taxpayers of New York. Often at times there was migrants causing chaos, but
damn.
The one instant where I showed you that video,
please share this video. Share this video, please.
Physical, and a lot of the times it was, go calm the migrant down, get him inside the hotel.
We also spoke to the manager of the store right next to Roe, who shared how the migrants have been affecting businesses in the area.
So there was previously tourists staying in this hotel, and now it's migrants, so you're not having the same amount of business coming through this area?
No, same. It's totally down, less than 50% the down. So I'm not against, I told you I'm not against them, but I don't like to our business area. Take them another area, side of city or another place, not the middle of the city. We are facing, but where the business, not only my store, all area business down for this one. All this area, 8 Avenue, 3-4 area, their business. You can ask any people, they'll say no, business is down here.
On top of the violence, guns, and drug and alcohol abuse, Carlos shares that the infrastructure of the hotel is also starting to crumble.
This hotel is pretty much collapsing. One thing that I saw was the maintenance requests. And in these maintenance requests, it ranged from mold in the ceilings to mold in the walls to power outages in 10 rooms in one floor. The electrical infrastructure in this hotel is fried. We have everything from power.
Respectfully, that hotel will never be the same. But that's on them. They made the decision. I don't know what happened. Maybe they're getting a lot of money for this, but I don't think that hotel will ever be the same, bro.
No.
Outages to fires going off. The lobby ceiling, we've had that fall.
Detecta esto. Viviendo con VIH, vi que podía mantenerme indetectable con...
I'm going to say this right here. Go look on Spanish TV and some of the Spanish channels and look at the border. They'll tell you how the way they was. Look at them old videos that they showed. This was individuals that were showing that they were on their TV. They would get hit by a rock. That's why they had the military down there. That's why they had the Mexican military and Guatemalan military down there. Because some of these folks don't have no respect, man. They're wild. And you need to watch some of the documentaries. That's why they have to handle the way they do. Because some of these people don't have no morals, man. I'm trying to tell you. I know that we got some issues, but God dog, I'm in the hood, but these people had a whole different mindset coming to this country. So hey, I'm just giving you a little video of what's to come. So you guys in these other cities, it's coming to your city. They're the kind of people that they bring into your city, in your town. And that's what they did. They did the same thing. It was some people in Mexico, even some of the Mexicans was getting mad because they were coming through and crap all over the street and throw bird ball. And it was in residential area. And they was trying to tell these folks, but this is what the Biden administration allowed. Then they did away with. That's why Trump did that with the Title 42. But they go away and did away with it. Then they're gonna say, "Oh, it's down." I told you, man. This party ain't worth the crap. And they to your Black Caucus and the rest of your Democrats, they allowed this stuff to happen. They allowed in Chicago, Atlanta is coming your way if it ain't there already. They're gonna do the same thing in Atlanta. They're gonna do the same thing in whatever city. Denver is whatever city. Washington D.C. They put them folks up there. They doing the same thing. Told you. But thank Biden for that. And I ain't telling you how the way to vote, but you see where that lead to. And now they starting to see. And that governor was trying to tell them, the Florida and the Texas, and they saw this. They heard from from the border people, but nobody want to listen. So this is what you got in New York. So there you have it. But I'm about to cut this video. But yeah, there you have it. So now what? But I hope that this shows you a whole perspective of this video. Sorry it was this long, but it has to show you the whole perspective. I hope you enjoy this video. Share it with somebody. It's kind of long, but next time I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you learn something from it. Like it, subscribe, and I'll try to put another one together. I try not to make, but it'd be too juicy to add in my comment. But that's the reason why this is this long. All right, then, guys. You have a good day, good evening, good day wherever you are in the world. And when you see them buses coming, expect what's coming to your city. Thank your local officials and state officials. When it comes to November, they better be for America first. If they don't vote for them. See where they really stand at, because look who's in office right now. Look who's running the cities and the state and the country. That's all I gotta say. And it don't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. If they ain't for the people, don't vote for them. Take care.